everyone, and welcome back to the Pregnancy and Postnatal Entrepreneurs Collective podcast. I am Niamh Cassidy, and I am here with Lorraine Lozano. Did I get it right?
Yeah,
I did.
perfect.
Who is a doula and lots of other things as well. Lorraine and I first met on Instagram online. We're both in Ireland, and then we were both involved in a pregnancy event that another birth worker organised where we met in real life for the first time. But more recently, we've got to know each other a lot better because we are in essentially, I suppose, a fitness program together that I got into because of Lorraine. So what happened is I saw Lorraine doing a workout on her Instagram account, and I thought, oh my God, she looks so strong. And I wanted that too. It'd been something that I had been thinking about for so long and just hadn't managed to get through. So I messaged Lorraine and I said, what are you doing? And she told me the coach she was working with. And within 24 hours, I was also working with Louise as well. So thank you very much for introducing us, Lorraine. And I am going to have Louise on the podcast in a few weeks as well. So we'll talk more about her then. But welcome, Lorraine. And maybe you'll tell people a little bit more about all of the work that you do.
Yeah, what an introduction. So my name is Lorraine. I'm a full spectrum doula, meaning that I support people right from trying to conceive, infertility, fertility treatments, right the way through whatever their journey is, whether that results in pregnancy or not, right the way through pregnancy, labour, birth, postpartum. I suppose that's my main title, and then I wear lots of other hats. I'm an antenatal instructor, I'm an advanced VBAC practitioner, a Reiki practitioner, intuitive rebirth practitioner, trauma resolution practitioner, and I am currently training in coaching now as well.
Brilliant. So there's a lot going on there, and you provide loads of wonderful support for the pregnant and postnatal families in your area, and also to a lot of other people as well, I think. So I know you were with some other birth workers over the last few days, and that gave you a little bit of a reboot. And today we're going to talk a bit about kind of reflection for birth workers and maybe into some debriefing and really about the things that we can do to look after ourselves. So I know for me, so my background is in social care, and reflection was a huge part of my training in social care, but it was also part of my antenatal education training. So it's something that I feel is really, really important in any sort of people supporting work in particular, that we're able to reflect on our own experiences, on the experiences other, that our clients are having, so that we grow as human beings, but two, so that we can continue to do this work. Where do you land in the reflection piece? What brought you into kind of that space and using that as a tool?
I think just my own lessons of not looking after myself, probably. So my background is in teaching, and I think teachers are well known for just burning out and not doing much for themselves. So I was kind of there. And so I started to train as a doula when my youngest was just a year old. So my training was full on. So I was working a full-time job. I had a year-old baby who didn't sleep because she was just attached to my boob all night. And then I was doing this full-on 16-week course on top of all of this. So I think from the get-go, I just wasn't really looking after me, even though in my training, they did a whole section on self-care for birth workers and for doulas and how important it is. And I was like, yeah, it's so, the way you're like, yeah, it's so important. Yes, I know I'm going to do this. Meanwhile, I'm like burning out just in my training. So then I suppose when I started practicing as a doula, it was probably kind of slow to begin with, so I didn't really have to delve deep into that self-care work. But then I was doing more and more trainings. I think the moment that really gave me a kick in the ass was when I trained as a trauma resolution practitioner. And I remember one Saturday, I had spent the morning doing fear releases. So I had done a group fear release for pregnant women. Then after that, I went straight into a trauma resolution session with somebody. And then straight after that, I went into a debrief with someone. I didn't do any sort of protective work for myself beforehand. And the minute I finished that last session, I got into the car and I drove to Lidl to do the shopping. I do not remember doing that shopping. Yeah. I just completely, I was gone. And it's only when I drove home and I was sitting in the car, I don't even know how long I was sitting in the car, but I was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I'm sorry for cursing on your podcast. Okay. I'm a pirate. But yeah, I was just like, what just happened? Like, I'm not even present in my own body right now. I don't know what's going on. So I got straight on to my trainer for the trauma resolution and had a chat with her, and she was so amazing. And we had supervision. We still have supervision at least twice a year for the trauma resolution. We had supervision the next week, and that ended up being the topic, and just talking about how we need to protect ourselves before these calls, and then afterwards make sure that we're releasing ourselves. And that's very, very basic self-care for just those sessions. Outside of that, it's about looking after ourselves and pouring into our own cups so that we can give to others. And I think that's when I kind of started to be like, okay, yeah, reel it back in a little bit, Lorraine. You need to look after yourself. And I set up this whole little, what's the word? It's gone. A whole little practice for any time I would do like a debrief, fear release, even like going to a postpartum shift, because you know yourself from lactation consultations, like postpartum shifts can be quite heavy sometimes. So I always now make sure that I protect myself before I go into anything like that. And then afterwards, I listen to Let It Go from Frozen and I just sing it out. And it's just a really good release. Yeah.
So literally just letting it go. I was really interested in what you said at the start and then at the end. So around when you were teaching and how the I suppose how a lot of teachers burn out through lack of support, I suppose, and lack of opportunities to debrief and to reflect and to have supervision. And when I was working in social care, that was one of the things that I really noticed about the other caring professions, and I'd include teaching in that, is that supervision wasn't a part of the practice, whereas we had monthly supervision. It was part of our work. It was ingrained in what we did. And it was so important for that controlled emotional involvement, for protecting our own selves, for being able to debrief the experiences that we were having with clients at the time. And it is something that's missing from a lot of work. But then when you become self-employed, of course, you don't have a team, you don't have supervisors essentially
Yeah.
to do that with. Obviously with the trauma work, it's really important and that's built in. But as you mentioned yourself, birth work, as in attending births and postpartum, where we get a lot of, I'm sure in your first visits as well, you get a lot of birth debriefing from the client, and that can be quite heavy. So you mentioned that you have a practice before you go to see people. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
It's kind of just me doing a self meditation and just reminding myself that I am going in there with an open heart and an open mind, but I'm not taking on their experience because it's their experience and not mine. And it's just me guiding myself through knowing how to go in and how to approach and how to sit, hold space without taking on the feelings of somebody else, if that makes sense.
It really does, and it's such an important thing because a lot of us, we do this work because we care about people and we care about their experiences, and we can often, if we haven't been given any practices or if we haven't been taught about how to do these type of things, we can go in and give too much, like give of ourselves while we're with our clients. Of course, we're emotionally involved. Of course, we're there giving, but there has to be controlled boundaries between ourselves and our clients, because otherwise you will burn out really, really quickly. It's not built into every training to learn about that, so it's really important that we either figure it out by ourselves or we have other people who have been there before us that can
Yeah.
talk
Yeah,
about it and we can
absolutely.
learn from them.
And I'm really lucky. I've got such a lovely little network of doulas around me as well. Doulas and birth workers. So, like, for example, if I get called to a birth, there's a couple of doulas that I'll text and be like, okay, on my way to a birth. And they'll come back to me, and they do the same with me. We'll come back to each other and say, all right, amazing. You're going to be amazing. They're so lucky to have you. I'm here if you need anything. So if anything happens, like, if the mom is feeling a niggle somewhere and I've tried everything, I'm like, oh God, I can't think of anything else. I'll text one of the other doulas and they'll do the same with me. And then after the birth, the really important part, whether the birth was amazing or it didn't go exactly to plan, we debrief with each other. So whether it's in the middle of the day and we get to call each other, or we just send a really long ass voice note. It's our way of debriefing and just letting go of everything that just happened. Again, like I said, whether absolutely amazing or not exactly to plan. And it's it really helps.
And how did this start, that you started doing this for each other?
God, I don't even know. That's a really good question. I think it just organically happened. And I do remember I trained with a Canadian organization, and I remember them saying it like, build your doula network. It's really important that you have a doula network, that you can debrief with each other, you can chat with each other. And you know, when you start out, like when I started out as a doula, I was in Kuwait, and I did build a little network, but it was hard to get to know them because I knew as well that I wasn't going to be there for much longer. So then I moved home, and there weren't as many doulas when I moved home as there are now. So I kind of had to build that network first and, you know, build that rapport. And then, yeah, it was just a kind of organic, okay, I was just at a birth, this happened, and just getting chatting. And then it just became a regular thing. And it's something I recommend to all new doulas. I'm like, build your network. I'm here. No matter what happens, I'm here. If you want to call me, if you want to text me, I am here to listen.
Yeah, and it is so important. I'm lucky as well to have similar experiences with both my antenatal teaching from training with Quidju, and then with my lactation practice from the lactation consultants who were doing it before me. And we have the same, we have a little WhatsApp group where if, you know, we have either a clinical challenge, something that we're not sure about, you know, we can put in there, or like that, if you just need to let something go, to be able to bring it into the group and, you know, get that support from other
And
people
knowing
who
that the group,
understand.
yes, yeah. And knowing as well that that group is a non-judgmental space. So you can just say exactly how you feel.
Exactly.
And
You don't have
they
to
get it as
hide it.
well. Yeah, exactly. And they get it because like I come home and I'll debrief to Berto and he's like, oh, well, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? And I'm like, you don't get it. You don't get it. I need to talk to Pam, or I need to talk to Gemma, or I need to, you know. So yeah, it is so, so important to have your little network so that you can be doulaed too.
Exactly. And you know, that's something that is always popping in my head when we're having this conversation. It's about doulaing the doula, or doulaing the birth worker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need that level of care and support from each other and from other people as well. And you know, like that, talking to your husband or talking to your friends, they'll be kind and they'll listen, and they, you know, they'll say great job, or oh, that must have been hard, or you know, but
Yeah.
they don't get it.
No. No, they don't get it. And it is like, it's so amazing to have them and to have their support as well. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, you know that they don't entirely get what you're talking about.
yeah. And the people who do understand can just give a higher level of support, I suppose.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't even say anything. They just hold space and say, but that's exactly what you need. It's like what we do when we go into a postpartum family. We just hold space, and that's all they need, you know?
And I wonder how we can, you know, you mentioned about when you meet new doulas, you kind of say this to them, you know, you need your network, you need your other birth workers around you. I would be similar. I mean, it's a huge part of why the collective was set up. It's not just around business, but it's around supporting, just having other people who understand what's going on around you. And it's one of the main things that I always tell people as well, is that networking. And networking, I think, for women, or maybe for birth workers, and probably for women, it's less about finding people that, you know, that you can smooth or who are going to help you out in some way, and more about finding support. So
Yeah.
finding those business besties or other people who know something about something that you don't know things about. It's more about finding connections and friends than it is about finding clients.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I've made so many friends through networking. Yeah. And you know what? It makes me think about when you have a baby and you go to like a baby massage class or baby reflexology or whatever it is. You're not really going to massage your baby. You're not. You're going to be around people who get what's going on. And you're going there to feel less isolated, less lonely, and less fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
That really is it. And I know again, like with my own parenting experiences, that was so important for me. That idea of building your village or whatever you want to call it
Mm-hmm.
around you, of people who understand what you're going through or have been through it before and can tell you that you're not losing your mind. You know,
Yeah.
can tell you that you're not losing your mind.
Or that
And we
you
need,
are, but it'll come back.
yeah, yeah. And we need that. You know, when we're starting our businesses, when we're going out into the world as birth workers, from both the self-care point of view of working with clients, but also in the building the business
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it as well, because there's so much more to learn, and we don't need to keep reinventing the wheel when someone else has gone before us and can help us along with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I think as well, what a lot of people don't realize, that in the birth business, it's not like other spectrums of business. Like, it's about collaboration. It really is. And as women, when we come together and when we collaborate, Jesus Christ, we're so freaking strong. Like, we can do anything. And that's how birth work should be. We're all coming together and collaborating and referring each other on, because I know for sure that I'm not everybody's doula. And that's okay. Everybody isn't my client, and that's okay. So if I have a consultation today with someone and we just don't click, I'll let them know. And I'll also throw it into one of the doula groups, being like, okay, anyone available for this date? Or like, if I notice certain personality traits in this potential client and I know, okay, I know this doula will be a really good match for her, set up a call for those, for them to have, it's, yeah, it really is about collaboration and working together and building each other as well.
Yeah, and again, like that's something that people are probably sick of me saying, you know, community and collaboration over competition.
Mhm.
And I know myself, that was a little bit hard for me. So when I started as an antenatal teacher and I was trying to get out there and I was finding it really hard to fill my classes, and then my training organization was training more antenatal teachers in my area, I was a bit like, listen, lads, we can't keep doing this because the ones that are already working, can't get the clients. So we can't be adding more people into the mix.
Yeah.
Whereas I have a completely different viewpoint on
Yeah.
that nowadays, because it wasn't that there wasn't enough people, it was that we didn't know how to get them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And there are plenty of families in Ireland having babies. We've 40,000 babies being born a year, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
There could be lots more of me and we could still
Yeah.
support all the families. And
And
it
they
is,
all
as you
bring
said,
something different.
that yeah, that we are different, and that yeah, I'm not everybody's lactation consultant.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Some people might look at me on Instagram and say, not a hope I'm going to see her. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? They want a different type of personality, and that is okay.
Yeah. We do the same. I mean, before I started training with Louise, I had been looking at other coaches and stuff as well, and I was like, no. And it could be just something. And look, we're all human at the end of the day. And as much as we say, oh, we listen and we don't judge or whatever, we do judge, and we choose people to work with based on our judgments. So, like, I had looked at other personal trainers, and like, they could have just said a word that I didn't like, and I was like, no, not for me, not for me. Whereas Louise really stood out for me, and it's the
Yeah.
same for us. Like, it's the same kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to say, it's just the same. Like, people are going to choose the person that they feel a connection with. I had a
And
client, I
that
think
is
last year,
okay, as you said.
and
So
yeah,
go on.
it's completely okay. Yeah, I had a client last year, and it's something that I say to people on consultation calls as well. And on Saturday at the doula event, if you are thinking about getting a doula, call a few doulas, have consultations, have chats with a few doulas so that you can choose your doula and choose someone based on the connection that you feel with them. I had a client, I think it was like last year. Yeah, around this time last year. And she had done that. I had said to her, call another few doulas, blah, blah, blah. And she had done that. And when she had her baby, we're still in the hospital room, right? She has her baby on her chest and she's like, you know, I did call another few doulas, right? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And she was like, you know why I chose you? I was like, oh God, why? And she was like, because you're way more fuck the system than anyone else. So, like, if that's what someone wants, then they're going to get it in me. If that's not what they want, then they need to choose someone else.
Yeah, and you know, obviously the birth space is such a sacred space, and the postnatal period as well, where someone's inviting you either into the birth room with them or
Mhm.
into their home. You know,
Yeah.
and these are really, really personal spaces. It's not. necessarily the same as maybe going to a clinic or going to the beauty salon and
Mm-hmm.
getting your nails done or whatever. You know, it's really, you're entering someone's life space, and that's
Mm-hmm.
a really sacred place, and people deserve to have people that they gel with and that they feel comfortable with and who they want there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to optimize their whole experience as well.
So I think, you know, in this conversation, what's really important is being able to get into the mindset that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there are plenty of clients out there. You know, we don't need to be worrying about each other and what other people are doing, or that there's more doulas qualifying in the area or more
Mm-hmm.
lactation consultants qualifying in the area. There's somebody out there for everyone. And I think this is actually really helpful for your self-care as well, because when you're not living in this kind of heightened scarcity mindset, you know, that's it's quite a stressful place to be, where you live in this more like abundance mindset, and same as there's plenty of people out there.
Yeah. Yeah. My clients are out there.
It just feels a lot less cortisol, less adrenaline in
Well,
it,
there's a
and that's
freedom
something
in it as
really
well.
important.
There's a freedom in it, and there's a, like, once you can kind of shift that mindset, everything else kind of just flows, and you don't have to market as hard, which means you don't have to work as hard, which means you get more downtime to do the nice self-care things like getting your nails done or whatever self-care means to you, you know?
And what does it mean to you? What are your things other than the few bits that we spoke about already?
Running. I think we all know running is my thing now. Um, I think as
So
well,
tell the audience how you got into running and how it makes you feel and how important it is for you.
I got into running January last year. So I had a little bit of a scare the year before around my heart. My heart had been just acting a bit weird. And I ended up going to a cardiologist, and we ended up narrowing it down to the fact that I had started drinking coffee that I don't even like. And he mentioned cardio. He was like, you know, you strength train 3 times a week. What about cardio? And I just kind of went, yeah, okay, I don't like cardio. And he was like, well, do you walk? And I was like, well, everybody walks. Like, yeah. I was like, but I don't intentionally go out for walks because I find walking boring. And he was like, and what about running? And I said, oh, no, I have shin splints, because I had gotten shin splints a couple of years previous. And he was like, for a medical practitioner, he was very holistic, and he really spoke my language. So he was like, you only have shin splints because you say you have shin splints. And I was like, no, I actually
Cool.
have shin splints. Like, they really hurt. So anyway, what I did was, because I had gone to a physio and everything about my shin splints, so like I had a whole practice to do to help the shin splints. So I came out of that appointment, and I was like, feck it, you know what? I'm going to start going back running. And I have a little mammies group down here in Wexford, and I put it in the group. I said, look, I'm thinking of setting up another group for those who want to go for walks, runs, workout, whatever. And that's what we did. So a few of us would meet up once a week in a local pitch and run around the pitch. Now, when I started, I wasn't really even running 200 meters, I'd say. And I was like out of breath, almost dead. And I thought, Jesus, I'm never going to even run like a full kilometer. But gradually I did. And I ran more and more and more. And running then, it became a lot more than just running. Like, I think when you see someone out on the road, you just think, I know I used to think, geez, they're fucking crazy. It's raining and they're out running. Like, but like running for me is a release. It's a belief in myself that I had lost. It's a belief in my body that I had lost. And it's kind of a spiritual practice in a way as well. Like, I'm not, when I'm out on the road running or when I'm on the treadmill running, I'm not overthinking anything. I'm just in my own mind, and I'm actually practicing what I preach as well. Like when I'm with my clients and I'm talking to them about labor and I'm saying you can do anything for a minute or you only have a little bit left, like I'm practicing all those affirmations that I teach people while I'm out running. So yeah, because of all of that, I suppose running really has become self-care for me. Like if I'm feeling really shit and I'm in a really bad mood, if I go out for a run, I actually scream and I shout on the road and everything. Like if anyone heard me, they'd think I was completely nuts, which I am. I own that. But it's like getting rid of all the crap. When I'm out there, I'm just it's either sweating out through me or I'm just shouting it out. And it's amazing. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
It does, it does. And I've recently got back into it myself as well. And so I can identify with all of that. Now I live in the city, so screaming and shouting probably would get me arrested. So I won't try that one. But it does. Because what I was thinking when you were talking, it's the good adrenaline.
It is.
Do you know what I mean? It's the adrenaline that makes you excited and energized,
Mm-hmm.
not that fear adrenaline that we're always trying to avoid.
Literally run away from.
Yeah, yeah. So running is a big part of your self-care. What else?
Making sure that we are still booking a couple of trips a year. So like me and Berto met through travel. Travel was always a massive part of our relationship. And I think now more than ever, I need the trips. Oh, sorry. I need the trips to help me to reboot. Like I just went on a trip, just got home last weekend from Oslo, and it really was about rebooting because I'd gotten into this mindset of, oh God, this is going to be a terrible year. Oh, like everything is quiet right now, blah, blah. And you know, when you kind of get stuck in a rut. And yeah, I just needed to get away from everything and just see new things, be around new people, try new foods. And then I came back and I'm like, okay, it's quiet because it needs to be quiet right now. And I have all this coming up, so it's not going to be quiet for very much longer. And then the gym as well, like going to the gym as well, really. It's about, I suppose it's your mental health as well. Like looking after your mental health, everything else is going to just follow along, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think for a long time, myself included, and lots of people still, we don't necessarily connect our bodies and our minds together as much as we should. So the importance of, like, when your body's healthier, even your blood is flowing better. So that helps with your cognition and it helps with your mental health. And, even those little things. And it's so easy to not do.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy not to work out and not to
Yeah.
run and not to do anything outside of work and home. For me, 6 months ago or whatever it was, 7, 8 months ago at this stage, I thought I had no time. I have no
Yeah.
time to do that. I couldn't even go for a 10-minute walk. I don't even have 10 minutes. There's not a hope I have that time. But when you decide, when you prioritize, the time magically appears.
I know, like I remember when I first started with Louise and I said it to her, like I don't have much time. I a full-time business owner. I have my kids. I have no time. And she was like, well, do you think you'd be able to fit in 3 workouts a week? And I was like, maybe. So when I started, I was doing 3 workouts a week and they were a maximum of 30 minutes. And now I'm like, between running and the strength training, I'm doing it 6 days a week. And like, I'm running for 2 hours some days. So magically this time has just appeared.
It is. It's funny. Someone says like time's not linear. You can manipulate it. It's like, wow, you actually can when you just decide.
Yeah.
So if there were kind of like big lessons for people listening to this who are thinking, I really need to do something. I really need to start prioritizing myself a bit more and looking after myself. What kind of tips or headlines would you have for them?
I suppose the first thing is start slow, like kind of ease yourself into it, because the other thing is if you just delve into doing this thing that everyone else is doing, maybe it doesn't suit you. So you need to like ease yourself in and find things that you like and things that you enjoy, and then keep doing it until you want to do it more and you want to do it more. And that'll really help loads. And as well, like make sure that you're connecting with other like-minded people who are working in the birth industry as well, because it's so important. And if that means like connecting in with me, if you're a new doula listening here, or if you've been a doula for a while and you just haven't found your village yet, like connect in with me. I love chatting to new doulas. I like when I became a doula, I had a mentor in Kuwait, and I swear I wouldn't still be a doula without her. She was able to, like, where I found my training amazing. I loved my training. I didn't just train as a doula. I became a whole new version of myself, and I learned so much about myself. But then I had this mentor, Nina was her name, and oh my God, like she really helped me to get past the little blocks of my training and to understand things more deeply. And so, you know, if I can be that for anyone, or if I can just be the person where you come in and you go, hey, look, this is happening. Has this ever feel free to message me anytime. And there are so many other birth workers that will do the same. You know, we're all very birth nerdy as well, so we love talking shop.
Yeah, and I think people sometimes like that, they're afraid. They think that they're imposing on somebody, or that that person will think that this idea of the competition again, you know, this kind of idea. But there are very few people that I've met who really don't want to help other birth workers.
Yeah.
I would say almost everyone is open to providing that support to people.
And when you think about it, we need to practice what we preach. We tell our clients, don't be afraid to ask for help. Listen to those words. We tell our clients, look after yourself. Listen to those words. Listen to everything you're telling your clients and take it on board yourself.
And I think that's a lovely place to finish, because it's so powerful and it makes so much sense. You know, it is all of that things. Everything that we do for others, we need to do for ourselves as well. So Lorraine, if people wanted to find out more about the work that you do, or is there anything coming up that you'd like to talk about, where can they go to find out more?
And so my website is globebabydoula.com, and you'll find me on social media at Globebaby Doula.
And I'll put those links in our show notes as well. Well, thank you very much. It has been absolutely fabulous talking to you. We will be back again next week with another guest. So I hope you are enjoying these guest episodes. And if you have someone that you would like to recommend as a guest or for yourself, then please do get in touch with me.